So this week we're going to be talking about institutional review boards, or IRBs as they're commonly known. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be learning about how they operate and also the construction of the panel that votes on research as part of the IRB, and how they're constructed, what their composition is, how many members they need to have, things like that. So it's important to understand that no research can commence until it is approved by an institutional review board. So it could be a local institutional review board where it's part of a larger medical facility, usually a large research center will have its own institutional review board. You can also have central institutional review boards. The difference there is that the Central Institutional Review Board is a for-profit company, private company, that reviews and oversees research on behalf of physicians that are conducting research and also for sponsors that are sponsoring research projects. So we'll also be looking at some of the essential regulatory documents that we're going to collect before our trial commences, and then during the trial as it's going on. And then we'll also talk about the primary function of the IRB, which is to protect human subjects that participate in clinical research studies. Our learning objectives for this week, we're going to identify the structure and purpose of an institutional review board. That would include what its mission is, how it operates, and also the structure of its members as far as how they're configured to comply with GCP requirements. We'll also discuss the essential documents that are required of sites and sponsors in a clinical trial. So we'll have a list of those. I'll explain what they are, and we'll put some examples out there for you to see. Your readings for this week include Monitoring Clinical Research, an article that's on page 425 in your textbook. So it's only about 3 pages. Won't take you long to take a look at that. And then also, I want you to review the Essential Documents section of ICH E6, Section 8. You can find that posted online. So I'd want you to take a look at that and become familiar with some of the documents that are included in that section. And then finally, the regulation that governs institutional review boards is 21 CFR Part 56. Posted the document online, so you'll see it out there. It's only 14 pages, but I would like for you to read through it and be familiar with with that governing document as it applies to institutional review boards. So just to introduce you briefly to institutional review boards, I want you to understand that the IRBs are central to North America. So we find them in the United States, also in Canada. Around the world, they're normally called ethics committees, but they serve the same purpose. So the regulations that we work with regarding IRBs are normally FDA regulations, and they're contained in that 21 CFR subpart 56 document that we'll go over. Some of the essential documents that we're going to talk about, you're probably wondering, well, what in the world is an essential document? It's essentially a regulatory document that's required by the regulatory authority to be collected either before the trial commences or during the trial, and actually those will be listed in that order in the ICH E6 Section 8. So let me go over these real quickly for you. FDA Form 1572, it's a 2-page form. This is the Statement of Investigator. It is a contract between the investigator and the FDA. It's not a contract between the investigator and the sponsor. It basically indicates that the investigator is going to conduct the trial based on the protocol and based on the GCP requirements. the good clinical practice requirements that we studied in week 3. And if they fail to do that, then they risk running afoul of the law to include imprisonment if their transgression is of an egregious nature. So every investigator has to sign that document before they get started with their trial. The principal investigator's curriculum vitae is just their CV that outlines where they went to medical school and all that good stuff. The investigator brochure signature page just indicates that they received the investigator brochure, they read it, they understood it, and they sign and date that and send it back to the sponsor. They're required to get their protocol approved by an IRB. The investigator is required to do that. The sponsor does not do that. And then they'll get an IRB approval letter, which lasts for 1 year. The approval lasts for 1 year, and they can conduct the research at their site according to the protocol, and it has some other stipulations in there as well. And I've put a sample of one out there on Blackboard so you can see that. The IRB also approves their informed consent form. I've also put the sample of a financial disclosure form out there. It's 1 page. It basically indicates, asks the investigator, and this is also true of others that work on the trial, to indicate whether or not they have a financial stake of any kind in the sponsor. You'll also see a copy of the principal investigator medical license. You'll want to know what those look like. You'll also see some CLIA and CAP certificates. These are accreditation certificates for laboratories. So I want you to take a look at those so you see what they look like as well. Every lab has to be, properly accredited that functions within a clinical trial to certify that the lab values that they present are indeed accurate. And then finally, you'll have a lab range document that will provide what the normal values, the ranges for normal values for the various labs that we'll likely collect during our trial. There's no discussion forum this week. Instead, I'd like for you to read and review the project for this week, which is a summary of one of the historical documents that we read about earlier in the course. Those would be the Nuremberg Code, the Belmont Report, and the Declaration of Helsinki. So I'll explain this in a little more detail in the next slide, but basically you'll complete that project this week and turn it in using the link that's on this week's module page in Moodle. So for this week, what you're going to do is choose one of the 3 historical, ethical, and regulatory guidance documents that we looked at earlier in the course. The Nuremberg Code, the Declaration of Helsinki, and the Belmont Report. So choose one of those, and we're going to compile just a brief summary of the document that you choose. These are found in your ethical and regulatory aspects of clinical research textbook starting on page 29. So in your summary, I'd like for you to discuss the historical significance of the document, 2 or 3 of the most significant points that you think are important, and then what you think its principal impact on human subjects protections is, and then finally why you believe the document is relevant and important. So write that in your own words. You don't have to do any research. You don't have to you don't have to cite any research articles or anything like that. I'd like your summary to be between 400 or 500 words, which, in Microsoft Word, that's about a page of information. So try to keep it within those parameters and try not to go over that. So at any rate, write your summary in Microsoft Word, and then you'll submit that with the link that's on the module page in Moodle. So let me know if you have questions, and good luck to you on the assignment.